Hello and welcome to this episode of Jacked Up Being Frank. I'm your host, Jack Wanted with my co-host Frank Arenio, and we'll discuss about the Knicks' first conference finals appearance in 25 years and what that means for the franchise and how they dominated the Celtics at home to win the series. And we'll discuss all about how they dominated them in the last games and what they did to win those games. Of course, then we'll discuss and give our opinions about the Pacers versus Knicks series that's coming up on Wednesday and how they match up. And we'll get into the Western Conference side, of course, between the Wolves and the Thunder, because whoever wins that, of course, goes to the
NBA
goes
Finals.
goes to the NBA Finals, and we'll meet either the Knicks or Pacers on that side. So start this off.
We're both looking up because we're watching the Red Sox Mets game.
Okay, to start this off, I want to ask, how surprised are you that the defending champions went out like that?
Alonso just hit a double, right, off the wall?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to be tracking the Red Sox Mets game tonight. I mean, as our huge audience knows, that Jack is a Mets fan. He's wearing his jersey tonight. I'm a Red Sox fan, so we're going to have some fun with that. But we're going to primarily talk about the Knicks, about the NBA playoffs. So, Jack, I'm surprised. I mean, I'm really surprised that the Celtics lost this series. But there's just so much to talk about. It's one of the most fascinating playoff series, I think, in all of sports in recent memory. Like, there's so much to break down. And going into the series, I mean, no one was picking Knicks. We talked about it. I mean, you're as big a Knicks fan as there is. I'm a Knicks fan. I was a diehard growing up. Not so much anymore, but I am a fan, and I'm thrilled that they advanced. And the season they're having, this playoff run they're having. But nobody picked the Knicks to win the series before the series. I mean, both of us said in 6. And I thought that was a pick that was very respectful towards the Knicks, saying that they'll compete. It will be a competitive series, but ultimately the Celtics' talent would be too much for the Knicks. But the way it turns out, you had those first 2 games where the Celtics are up 20 in both games. The Knicks come storming back. They win game 1 in overtime. What was that? By 3 points. They won game 2 by 1 point. So they win the 2 games in Boston. Then the Celtics blow out in game 3. And honestly, after game 3, I'm like, all right, like the Celtics are going to take the series over now. And I thought the Celtics would go win in 6. I thought they'd win the next 3, maybe 7 at most, but I still thought the Celtics would win. And then you have game 4, the Knicks were down 14. They come back again. And the Knicks won that game. They were going to win that game. Tatum got hurt with, I think it was 2:50 left in the game. But the Knicks were up 9 points.
That was probably the best execution I've seen in a long time of just offensive basketball and getting whatever you want. I think the Knicks got the mid-range shot whenever the heck they wanted. I think we'll talk about analytics now. They've got absolutely killed this series and drilled because of how the Celtics whole analytic team probably doesn't look at the mid-range shot, how McKelvey just really drilled them and won that game from the mid-range. And, they don't really shoot mid-ranges, so their defense isn't really going to be big in that. Yes, they have some good one-on-one defenders.
The Knicks play a much better brand of basketball than the Celtics do.
And I think it's pleasing to watch, but it's not just as more pleasing to watch, because pleasing to watch can also lose. I mean, we've seen a lot of teams that are very.
But I think it's both more pleasing to watch, and I think it's more advantageous to winning in the playoffs and winning when it matters most.
Winning different ways. And I've always thought that, okay, there's teams that are paid. We'll talk about the Pacers later and how they match up with the Knicks, but there's a lot of teams that push the pace. But I feel like when you get down to it, it's a half-court basketball game. And half-court basketball, you won't always get the three-point shot. You need someone to break you down, which, of course, isn't the offense. You have somebody like Jalen Brunson. You're just gifted with him. He can put the ball on the floor and just do everything with it. But you have other players like Mikal Bridges who could pull up and, hit a jumper. Those are good looks. Those are short, close shots that Mikal Bridges hit a lot of the time. And that's just a great shot, and they play great basketball. They can win different ways. That is why they're in a game to 4 and a rush to 4. They're hard to beat because they can beat you in different ways. You want to take out the mid range. We have OG. I know we could step out and hit a 3. Mikal Bridges can step out and hit a few threes. OG, I know can a few threes. Jalen Brunson's a pretty good 3-point shooter. Cat can really stretch the floor for you and hit threes. That's why he's one of the best 3-point shooting big men of all time. And you bring that, but also it's like you might take away the 3-point shot. We can just dominate you inside like the Knicks did to the Celtics all that series. So there's different ways this Knicks team can win offensively. And it's not even to mention OG Anunoby defensively. They just offensively, there's a lot more ways they can win. Not a lot of things you could do if you're looking at them on film. Not a lot of stuff you could do because you could take one thing away, but the Knicks could do other stuff well. So it's a very hard match.
Yeah, look, the Knicks play a brand of basketball that's more enjoyable to watch, and it's more conducive to winning in the playoffs. It's all about the playoffs. And again, like, we're not going to revise history. We both picked the Celtics to win before the series. Everybody picked the Celtics to win. All year we were talking about, can the Knicks beat the Celtics? And, I mean, who thought they were going to beat the Celtics? Nobody did. And so, like, the assessment of the Knicks, throughout the season was the Knicks are a good team, but they're just not ready to go to that next level yet.
I'm going to give myself some credit. I don't want to say it. I still said them losing, but I did feel like as you get through this playoffs in your new team, I think getting battle tested with a team like the Pistons is huge. Like battle tested through the series, I can really put them together and
closer. See, I looked at it the opposite at the time because I thought, well, the Knicks struggled with the Celtics, or I think struggled is kind of the right word. It was a very competitive series. It went 6, could have easily went 7. The Knicks pulled out close games, which shows the Knicks' ability to win close games. But my mindset with it was like, oh, the Knicks are having a difficult time beating the Pistons. And I know the Pistons are good, but it's like the Pistons were terrible, and they made this great progress this year, and they're clearly a good team, and they're a team on the rise, and they have a good future. But it's like, why are the Knicks having such a tough time with the Pistons? So then going into the Celtics series, I'm like, this doesn't bode well. But I still thought, the Knicks are tough. They'll be competitive. I'm going to give them that respect. They're a good team, but they're just not ready to beat the Celtics yet. Clearly that was wrong, but clearly everybody was wrong.
Revisionist history, isn't that the way they wanted to play? The way they played that whole entire series against the Pistons, isn't that the way they want to play against the Celtics where they grind you out? Because, again, the Knicks are the least talented team. What less talented teams want to do is they want to grind you out. So that was revisionist history, of course, but playing a series like that where you're put on the ropes and having to grind it out with the Pistons really shows you we could play like this against the Celtics and give ourselves a good chance. And also toughen them up, of course. I think it sometimes could be a good thing to have a round 1 easy cakewalk, but it gives you the kind of discussion of, do you want a round 1 cakewalk or do you want to get toughed up? So it gives you that kind of, what do you want to see in round 1? Like, it kind of a discussion of, do you want to get toughened up? Or I think it definitely depends on the team. Or do you want to just be a team that gets a coast in round 1?
That just went foul.
Yeah.
As we're watching the game, Bregman hit one, just went foul. Then the pesky pulled down the right field line. How did Devers get on? I missed that. I saw Durant's double.
He got on.
Second and third, nobody out for the Red Sox, bottom of the first.
4-pitch walk.
Devers walked?
Yeah.
I wonder how he got the second. Anyway.
They both went by pass ball.
Okay.
But yeah.
Durant was on second. Devers walked, making first and second, and then there was a pass ball, so it went second and third.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay. But I think that it kind of gives you the opinion of what were you thinking going in? Do you think the Knicks needed a coast of a first round, or revision?
Yeah, I thought so because when you have to grind it out in the first round, it's going to tire out for the next round. Now I get what you're saying, and I think there's part of that. Well, they had to grind it out. They won close games. They showed they could win close games, but I still think it would have been preferable to have an easier first round. But I see what you're saying though. Like that, you could say it kind of prepared them for the second round against the Celtics as Bregman grounded out, runs scored. So it's 1-0 Red Sox, bottom of the first. But I see what you're saying. Like, and the Knicks. What's been revealed is that the Knicks can win close games in the playoffs. They won 3 of them against Detroit. They won 3 of them against the Celtics. Game 6 was just a total blowout. Which, I mean, if we want to get, I think we still have a little bit more to talk about before we get to Game 6. But, yeah, I mean, look, the Knicks show they win close games. They can win close games in these playoff games. They can grind it out. They can come back from big deficits. The Knicks show their toughness. You said the offensive clinic they put on at the end of Game 4.
The Tom Thibodeau team, that was an offensive clinic. For a coach like that, who isn't really an offensive coach, that was an offensive clinic.
Well, and the Knicks coaching is so much better than Celtics coaching. I mean, I think that was a big factor in the series. And I think we knew going into the series that the Knicks coaching was much better, but I didn't think that it was going to matter much because I just thought the Celtics talent would take over. But you know what? I go back and forth because, the Knicks deserve a lot of credit. And the Knicks are now in a spot where there's a path to the NBA Finals. There's a path to a championship. Look, I mean, I think the Thunder are the best team left, and they're going to be tough to beat. But the Knicks could beat them.
But again, they don't
the Wolves could beat them. Look, I think the Thunder are the best team. But, the Knicks got over this hurdle of the Celtics, massive hurdle.
Could be momentum, kind of a hurdle of momentum. But again, was we talking about?
I mean, you can say the Pacers have momentum too.
Well, yeah. Again, I do think, you look at the Pacers. I mean, they didn't get really battle tested. But you look at the Knicks and they're battle tested. So we'll see what that.
Well, that's a good point. I mean, the Knicks played the Celtics, whereas the Pacers played the Cavs. I mean, look, the Pacers are the Cavs are good, but they're not the Celtics. But anyway, back to the Knicks Celtics series. I keep going back and forth on was this series more about the Knicks or the Celtics? And that ball's down the line. So it's 2-0.
I think it was more.
Story got a hit. RBI hits made 2-0 Red Sox.
I think the Knicks won 2 solid games. Of course, the blowout where they just dominated. I don't know and then the game where they did an offensive clinic and then Tatum towards Achilles. That game was an actual real. So they had 2 big time wins. But also, the Celtics did throw away some of the games where they could have won. But I feel like the Knicks won enough to show you something. But also, yes, you need help at the end of the day. Sometimes, if you want to do an upset, you're going to need some help from the other team just to stink it up.
I think the way the Celtics play really hinders them. And I don't think the Celtics are a tough team. I don't think they're a battle-tested team. I don't think they're a well-coached team. Where the Knicks are battle-tested, they're tough, they're well-coached. But I think those were things that were obvious before the series. I think the Knicks were the more well-coached team. They were more battle-tested. I even think being the tougher team. I never thought the Celtics were a tough team.
Well,
I just again, I got to repeat myself, but I just thought the Celtics' talent will because that's how the NBA is. The talent just takes over, and when there's a significant talent disparity, that team's gonna win.
Yeah, but I do think about the coaching thing. I thought the big thing I think Tibbs is a great coach, but how much of a hold did he have on the team going into the regular season? He didn't really make that team his, we always talk about Tibbs and defensive style. That team wasn't really defensively at the end of the regular season. I know it's a regular season, but you're trying to mold an identity. Knicks were looking for an identity. You knew the Celtics had identity. They're going to shoot a bunch of threes, and I think that's important, knowing what identity you have. The Knicks were kind of scrambling for it. And I think the first series really said, can we lean into this toughness? And they're like, heck yeah, let's go. And let's lean into that type of toughness. And that's kind of they molded that identity. I think going in, we didn't have question about Thibodeau being a better coach than Mazzulla, but Mazzulla had that team. He had that team of, we're going to do this thing well. But Tibbs, it was a new team. They didn't really gel that well. I mean, they did revisionist history. They gelled pretty well. But I do think that they didn't have an identity. So I think the coaching was, we know what the better coach is, but I feel like the Celtics had an identity where the Knicks were struggling for one, and I think the round one helped them. And I don't think we saw that all that when we're making our predictions, but I feel like round one they built an identity and they pounced on it in game two. And I think the identity Thibodeau really made himself on the team. I think he made himself.
Well, did they build an identity, or did round one reveal what their identity is? Like, because it's the playoffs, because the stakes are a lot higher, and it's like, all right.
Well, the Pistons woke him up. They woke him up. They said they woke him up. I think.
I'm saying, like, the Knicks are tough. They're tough-minded. They can win close games. They can overcome adversity. But how much were you going to see that in the regular season? Because everybody knew the Knicks are good. Everybody knew they were going to make the playoffs. Everybody pretty much knew they were going to be the 3 seed in the East. Like, so it's like you went through the regular season. It's like, how much are we going to learn from this regular season? And then, like, their toughness and being, able to win close games, big games. Like, how much were you going to see that in the regular season? So I don't know that they built an identity in the first round, and then we saw it continue through the second round. I'm thinking that the identity was revealed because it really wasn't going to be revealed much during the regular season. Because honestly, the regular season is a ton different than the playoffs.
Yeah, but I do think it's I understand the point. I get the point, but I do think it's important when you have new players. I think getting the team together and especially the defensive plan on the court looked kind of helter-skelter, which is why the Knicks went to switching. They just try to do different stuff, which is what you say coaching is that they adjusted and were like, this is not working in the regular season. Let's adjust. Because, when you lose so much, right, you have to make an adjustment. So Knicks did just that. And I think losing that much in the regular season, as much as we talk about the regular season being not this important, but I think them losing that much, and it looked some games, their defense was just not like we used to see in the regular season with the DiVincenzo, with the Hartenstein, that whole defensive team.
But I think their defense stepped up in this series when it needed to. There were times where they were playing swarming defense. Like, they're timely. They play the tough defense when they need to play. It's kind of like a football team that there's times where the defense struggles or they're giving up a bunch of yards. But then when it's crunch time and they need a stop, they get a stop. And then they get another stop. And they get it done when it matters most. So I think the Knicks have shown to be that. Like, when they need to clamp down on defense, the defense steps up. I mean, it was the game 4 defense. Like, I mean, that defense got so tight, and they gave the Celtics fits.
Yeah.
And then early in game 6, the defense they were playing, and then games 1 and 2, the way they tightened the defense, down a bunch of
90 points from the Celtics. 90 points.
They tightened up the defense when it needed to be tightened up.
Yeah, I think that has a thing to do with the coaching. And I think they definitely tightened it up. I mean,
I think it's the character of the players too.
Yeah, the character of the players, the coaching, and I think we always look at Karl-Anthony Towns not being the best rim protector. Under Thibodeau, he's usually had Mitchell Robinson as starting center, Isaiah Hartenstein, those kind of rocks that can really be a good defender in the middle. Now Karl-Anthony Towns a kind of questionable defender. He gets really targeted a lot. But I feel like when they need to, and I think with the talent offensively, all you need is some timely stops. That is the biggest thing. When Leon Rose brings in that talent, all you need is timely stops.
Well, it's like I said, like, it's kind of like a football defense. Bend, don't break. So you give up a bunch of yards. But in football, you hold the team to a field goal.
Well,
you get the stop when you really need it. You get a big 3rd down stop. You get that 4th down stop. Again, you hold the team to a field goal. It's bend, don't break. So I think that's what the Knicks did at the series. Like, they stepped up defensively when they really needed to, and the Celtics didn't do that. And then the Knicks offensively, their offense towards the end of game 4, latter part of the 3rd quarter, and then all throughout the 4th quarter, they were a machine offensively. Like, they did it when they needed to, both offensively and defensively. With the Celtics, they did not do it. Like the Celtics got out to the leads, but they gave up the leads, and then the Knicks, they got it done when the stakes were the highest in those games. So it revealed the character of the Knicks, and it revealed the character of the Celtics. And I mean, look, I can't say it enough. I did not think there was much of a chance the Knicks would win this series. Like, I didn't think 0%. You didn't think 0%. But, going to the series, I'm like, all right, the Knicks have a 10% chance to win the series. And look, the odds before the series, the betting odds, the Celtics were minus 900 going into the series. I mean, this is a massive upset. It's an historic upset. But when it comes to the Celtics, like I'm almost ticked at myself for not riding the take I had on them last year in the playoffs. Because I kept saying all postseason last year and eventually they'd lose, which they never did. But the narrative was they didn't play anybody, which they never played anybody last year in the postseason. Like it was the easiest road to a championship you could ever have. They played the Heat in the first round. Wasn't Jimmy Butler hurt last year? Was it last year?
Yeah. He was hurt.
So they easy piece of cake first round. I know it's 1 versus 8, but it was even easier than your usual 1-8. Easy second round against the Cavs. Easy conference final against the Pacers, who upset the Knicks. And you want to talk about injuries? Look, the Knicks lost the series. I don't like using injuries as a total excuse, but the Knicks.
But if the Knicks somehow won Game 7, they would be injured. So
the Knicks could have won Game 7 anyway. I don't want to totally excuse losing, but the Knicks were banged up. There's Celtics fans and Celtics people. The injuries and Porzingis being sick. The Celtics were down 3-1 before Tatum got hurt. Game 4 was over. If Tatum didn't get hurt, the Celtics were not coming back to win that game.
So
that game was over.
They would have came down and chucked up a 3 and it would have won in. And the Knicks would have got a rebound.
The game was over.
Knicks would have got a rebound. Mitchell Robinson would have snagged another one, and then that'd be about it.
And honestly, if Tatum didn't get hurt, the Knicks probably still win the series.
Yeah. I do think the 3-1 comeback is more it's more it could happen, but I do think no matter what, I feel like the Celtics again, it was the mentality in that Game 6. They kind of just gave it all in Game 5, and that mentality in Game 6, we're going to go out there, and then we're going to fly out. We already have our tickets ready. We're not going to even go back to Boston. That was their mentality. I don't think that's changing with Tatum. They lose by 30 without Tatum. Maybe they lose by 10 with Tatum. So that's the.
You know what? If Tatum didn't get hurt, I probably stubbornly would have stuck to my prediction and stuck to my prediction and said Celtics will win in 7. I just kept thinking the Celtics talent eventually going to take over. But you know what? It was a totally wrong take. And I think it was revealed who the Celtics really are. And it's not to take away from the Knicks. But again, last year they had the easiest road to a championship ever. And it's all right, you won a championship. A championship's a championship. They'll always be the 2024 NBA champs. But the first time that the Celtics were actually challenged in the playoffs in the last 2 years was against the Knicks. The Knicks were the best team that they played in the last 2 years, and they lost. And there was no doubt left. So, You know what? It really revealed the Celtics for who they are, and it really showed how flawed their approach to playing the game is, that their approach does not work in the playoffs. It's stubborn. It's way too extreme at analytics. It's too reliant on make or miss threes, which is ridiculous when you're the most talented team in the sport. You do that when you're the lesser team talent-wise, when you're the underdog. That's when it's about make or miss. Maybe when it's even, but it's really that's the approach when you're the underdog, when you're the team with the with less talent. It's okay, make or miss. We're going to make our shots. If we don't, we lose. When you're the most talented team in the sport, and that's your approach, that just doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense because it was just rush after rush after rush shot. And it felt like Tatum was getting all the matchups he wanted on Jalen Brunson. He was just taking step back threes. It's like it's in their head not to say, okay, not to give the take away blame from Tatum about that stupid shot, but those stupid shots. But like, it might just be ingrained in their head of like, look, we're gonna shoot those shots no matter what. I don't care if you have Jalen Brunson on you. And you know what the Knicks would have did? If it was vice versa, they had a big guy on a small guy, they'd probably try to go to the big guy. Definitely. Carthy Towns was matched up on a lot of those people, and they just go right to him. A lot of the guards, they go right to him. Maybe it doesn't work out all the time. Double comes, they kick out, and nothing happens. But at least they're trying to attack mismatches. Look, you're going to have to try to attack mismatches. You're not going to score every single time the same way. And especially if you can get some easy buckets, it's just tiring trying to not get easy buckets and just trying to shoot threes. It's tiring.
Yeah, and then, long rebounds, you get out in transition. It's not conducive to drawing fouls or getting the other team in foul trouble. Like, it just doesn't – there's so many things you can bring up. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. And it reminds me – I'm crossing sports, but it makes me think of baseball, a team that hits a lot of home runs, and they just do that throughout the regular season. They outscore teams. They beat up on mediocre and poor teams. But then when they get to the postseason and they're facing the best pitching, that approach of just swinging for the fences, swinging your hardest and hitting home runs doesn't work nearly as much anymore. And then you get bounced early in the playoffs. So I think the Celtics approach to basketball, where it's just chucking threes at this historic rate that they do, it works in the regular season. You just beat up on mediocre and poor teams. But then you get to the playoffs and you face a good team and it doesn't work out. And the Knicks are the best team they've played in the last 2 years of the playoffs. And again, I didn't think the Knicks were going to beat them, but they were the best team they faced and they lost. And there was no doubt left. The Knicks just absolutely blitzed them.
They were up 38 and Josh Hart died in a loose ball. This was a domination. This wasn't just.
I don't think 38 even told the story. It was more like the Knicks won by 50 or 60.
No, I'm just saying
I'm saying like that. That's how dominant the Knicks were. Like 38, it's like they won by more than that. It was an absolute landslide from the start.
Your star fouled out halfway through the third. It's like you mailed it in. You're like, let's go on the beach. Let's get our next. Let's not miss the plane. Let's get on. Let's go. Because it was just, there's no fight to get back to Boston. Nothing. Just no fight left. You would think they would, after that game, you'd think they have some momentum. But maybe that game was just, that blowout was just all it took. And again,
I look back and I personally, I think a lot of people did, I personally give the Celtics way too much credit. Because after game 5, it was like, I thought the Knicks would win game 6. I wasn't confident. I thought it'd be a close game. I thought they'd win game 6. But I look back and myself, along with a lot of people, just gave the Celtics way too much credit, overvalued their talent. And the Knicks, clearly a good team, clearly a tough team, clearly a resilient team, clearly a team that steps up offensively and defensively when it matters most. And they left no doubt. And they just absolutely destroyed them in game 6.
Yeah, they left no doubt. And the Celtics just, I lost my thought, but they couldn't, they were just mailing it. So the Knicks were just completely in control. And I think the game 5, that game, it was a lot of just, random performances between Luke Cornett, 9 blocks, Derek White, 32. Now, we want to talk about coaching and really locking in. And the players, of course, you have great players. You bring the talent. But Thibodeau was like, hey, Derek White had 34 points. Let's court him like he's Steph Curry. Let's get him. Like, he had 8 points on terrible efficiency the last game in the game. The Knicks absolutely dominated. So it shows you what coaching does.
Yeah, I mean, the coaching advantage was clear with the
And Luke
Knicks.
Cornett
I
was
don't think
absolutely
Mazzulla
the
is
same.
much of a coach. I just think he implements the analytics approach of the Celtics. And listening to him talk, oh my God, like it's insufferable to listen to him talk. I mean, he was quoted, I think he said it a couple of years ago, that the most important stat in basketball is attempted three-pointers. It's not even made three-pointers or three-point percentage. It's how many you attempt. Like, I just can't comprehend how that is the most important stat in basketball. Like, I don't even know what to compare it to. I have to think of something, but it's
I
like,
didn't
it's
see that.
crazy. It's just like it just smacks you in the face that makes no sense. And then he just like the cliches he uses, and it's, oh, trust the process. Our process was good. How about your results? Your results weren't good. Oh, the process. Trust the process. Our process was good. What are we talking about? And that's that whole analytics mentality. It's, oh, the process. Like, look, process is important, but you evaluate the process based on the results. Like, if you're not getting good results and there's something flawed about your process, but they have this mentality of like, oh, well, it's just all about the process. But I mean, it's just illogical. Like, I just these guys, like, they fancy
makes me
themselves as
think.
so smart and so sophisticated and driven by data. But then when it comes down to it, it's like, if you're not getting the results, what are you talking about? The process was good.
It makes me think. You don't
The
want
process
to.
is tied to results.
You don't want to throw away playoff games, and that them saying, okay, process. You threw away a freaking playoff game. You don't. It's the playoffs. You don't want to throw away games. That's not.
But I think it
That's why
just
I was mad
proves
that
that
they lost
they
game
are.
5. You don't want to throw away that game either. But I look at a revisionist history. Game didn't matter, but still, you don't want to throw away games. You don't want to throw away games. You don't. And if you're going to shoot over 1,000 from 3, you throw away the basketball game. No thought about it. And you don't, especially don't want to do that against great teams. You just don't want to just throw away games. And they were able to get away with it with their soft competition, but when they play in real competition, you can't throw away games. Those games come back and haunt you because now the other team and the Knicks took control of that series. It felt like they were in control. I mean, it didn't feel like it, but they took control. They were up 3-1. They got the blowout. They were in control because of the process being terrible. Because you throw away games, and the Knicks just became control of that series, and you couldn't do anything about it because you could have put in one good game, but then you couldn't do that again. The Knicks just like their back was kind of against the wall because you don't want to go to Game 7, so the Knicks just turned it on a notch. But they also had the comfortability because they took over the series because you lost those first 2 games. No matter what that is, you shot
Yeah,
historically
and that's
bad.
why
Doesn't matter.
with the Celtics, health, injury is not an excuse, and it is not anywhere close to the reason why the Celtics lost. They were up 20 in games 1 and game 2. If they hold on to those games, they're up 2-0.
They look pretty
Now,
healthy to me in those 2 games.
the series is different than, like, I'm not going to go say, well, they're up 2-0, so they would have won game 3 because they blew out the Knicks in game 3. Like, if the Knicks were down 2-0, you know, there's more urgency for the Knicks then. Like, the Knicks were up 2-0. I don't think the Knicks mailed it in game 3, but it's different. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I'm not going to go say, well, if the Celtics had held on in games 1 and 2, well, then they went and won game 3, so they would have been up 3-0. We don't know that for sure. But if the Celtics were up 2-0, they would have won the series.
Yeah.
But they didn't get it done. And that had nothing to do with injury. That had nothing to do with Porzingis' health. They didn't get it done. They kept chucking threes. The Knicks tightened it up defensively. The Knicks got it going offensively. The Knicks did the job to come back in those 2 games and win those 2 games. So health, injury has nothing to do with the Knicks winning those first 2 games and the Celtics giving those games away.
And you talk about the why they drive more because they have all the talent. Well, I know they didn't have Tatum, but that game 5, it felt like they got in the paint the most they did in that series, and the most I've seen in a long time. And they won that game by a landslide. They had the bench warmers coming in. So that's the thing. Like, you can do that stuff. You could drive them in because you have players like Jaylen Brown. We talked about talent. Well, what about they put a freaking head down, they get in the paint because that opens us up. Luke Cornett got some easy dunks that fired up the crowd, and those were easy dunks, easy layups, like because you got in the paint. And you even the paint kick out threes, to me, I think those generate the best looks when you're in the paint and you draw two defenders. That shows process, and it also shows result. If you kick out to an actual shooter, like if the Knicks drive in the paint, kick out to OG Anunoby, that is process plus result. That's what I think they. That's what I think I mean by process. If you're driving the paint with your point guard, Jalen Brunson, if you drive in the paint and kick out, that is my process. And the result is OG Anunoby 3. Could go in, could not, but we're living with that if we're the Knicks because we drove in the paint, we kicked down, and we got in the paint. We saw as far as we can get in that possession. So that's what they were doing, and they were successful. Whoa, brain blast. But then they got dominated in Game 6, couldn't even do anything. But, Game 5, they played the most downhill I've seen them play. And they won that game by a landslide.
But yet they stick to their, three-point shooting outside approach that stems from their analytics, stems from their data and their algorithms and all that stuff. But
inside. That's not even you're not even getting inside the paint to kick out. There's what? You're not even seeing it through. You're not even seeing the possession through. If you can't get inside, kick it out. But if you can get all the way down with Jaylen Brown, he throws out a posterous dunk, and that gets all the crowd up, and that matters. That matters. But if Jaylen Brown sees the last defender, which is Mitchell Robinson, Karl-Anthony Towns, he kicks it out to Drew Holiday, Tatum, or whoever's in the corner, Sam Hauser. He shoots a three. It probably goes in because the process is good and the result's going to be good. And you live with that because you couldn't get him farther than the paint. The paint should be the first option. I think the paint should be the first option. Always. Always. Especially if Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. The paint should be the first option.
Celtics don't see it that way, and I think it cost them.
I think it did. I think easy buckets won in the end. Who can get the most easy buckets, especially in a game like this? I know that's bland analytics, but bland analysis. But whoever can get the most easy buckets, especially in a game that is tightly defended. I think the Celtics played I think the Celtics played good to great defense the whole entire series. They were hounding. So the Knicks got easy buckets. They tried to get as much easy buckets as they could. And they scored with regularity because they were hard to predict. Hard to predict.
Where the Celtics are very predictable.
Yes.
But it's just logical. It's just, this again is the problem with analytics and these people that want to
net rating. What's your net rating?
They want to reinvent the sport. Like, it's good to have progress. It's good to have change. There's good change. There's bad change. Like, you need to evolve. You need change. You need progress. Yes, but there's fundamentals to each sport that should not change. There's basics. There's logic. And the analytics diehards, like, they really throw out the fundamentals. They really throw out the basics and the core of the way the game should be played. They're just too extreme in their desire to remake these sports. It's like we found this new way to play. It's like, no. Like, yeah, you can incorporate new things and innovate and progress. You need that. But there's fundamentals that should never change. And a team like the Celtics doesn't see it that way. And you see it in the way they play, and I think it cost them dearly.
Yeah, it did, and I think that it definitely 100% cost them because it wasn't sustainable what they were gonna do, and especially the Knicks took control of that series. The Knicks are a team that when they take control of a series and they can take that control. Think about it. Think about it this way: you win the first road game. All you do is split at home, and then you're 3-1 up. So that just there. If you think about it that way, all you do is win 1 at 2. You want to win both. You want to win every game, but think about it like that. You lost the first 2 games, so screw your process. All you do is win one more game in New York, in our home garden, and that all stuff doesn't matter because we're up 3-1. So unless you're going to make this big idea about the process and how we're going to win those next 2 games, tell me about that. You're going to win those next 2 games. But the whole process stuff that you said, he didn't even tell me that in the next few games that process is going to come to fruition. It didn't.
Honestly, it gets to a point, Jack, like it just makes my head spin with the analytics extremists. Like it just, there's a lot to break down, but it's just like these guys, like they refuse to work within the fundamentals and the foundation of the game. And it goes to all these sports. And it's like you guys could contribute something positive. I'm not saying they don't contribute anything positive, but you could contribute positively to the evolution of the sport. But you need to work within the core of the sport, the foundation of the sport, the fundamentals, and then data, analytics, incorporate that stuff. But it's just too extreme, and then they evaluate the process, it seems, based off of the data that they input instead of the results that you see on the court. It's just, the data says this. And it's like, but it's not working. But then they'll argue, well, no, it does work. If you look over the long term, but then like they pride themselves on being sophisticated with the data and the analytics. But then they oversimplify things where it's just like, over the long term, if you just take this approach of shooting all these threes, that will win out. But the game is situational. So over the course of a long regular season, if you just keep bombing away with threes and you're a good 3-point shooting team, well, okay, you'll win a lot of games because you're better than all the other teams you play or most of the teams, so you win a lot of games. But then when you get in the playoffs and you're playing the best teams and they play better defense and they're more well-coached and they're more talented and there's all those factors, well, that approach is not going to work.
Yeah, I'm trying to see more of this amazing guy's quotes, but this genius's quotes. But yeah, I just think that all this stuff about process, it's great. If we want to build a process to win, that's great. Because every team you're building a process as a general manager to build a great team. That's a process. The Knicks build a process to build a great team.
Yeah. I just have thoughts that popped in my mind when it comes to analytics. Like another one, I give you this. As we watch double play, so that ends at top of the third. So it's 3-1 Red Sox, middle of the third. The Oakland A's, way back when, Moneyball. And the A's made the playoffs regularly. They had very good regular seasons, but they never did anything in the playoffs. And they made the movie Moneyball, based off their sabermetrics at the time, which was like the precursor to analytics, and their GM, Billy Beane. So there's a movie, there's a book that was actually before the movie. And Billy Beane, he said that the playoffs were a crapshoot, that basically they're 50-50, and that their philosophy worked in the regular season, which it worked very well in the regular season. But then he says, well, our approach, is not going to work to the extent in the playoffs that it does in the regular season. But there's nothing we could do about that, because they're a low-spending team. So he would say they needed to have that approach because they didn't have a lot of money. They're a small market. I get that. But then with the playoffs, he said, playoffs, it's going to be a crapshoot. It's going to be 50-50. But they lost all the time in the playoffs. So if it was a crapshoot, you would have won some of the time. You would have won 50% of the time or something close to it. But they never won. They got bounced in the first round almost every season. So it's like, it's not a crapshoot. So it was a false narrative, what he was saying. So it's like, there was a flaw in his system, a flaw in his approach, but he excused it away in the playoffs and saying, oh, well, no, it's just a crapshoot. So it's similar to what you hear from Missoula and people with his mindset, his approach. It's like, oh, well, the process is good. Trust the process. Process is good. It's like, but you're not getting results. You shot 15 for 60 from 3 in game 1. You shot.
It's kind of the opposite of the Knicks.
In game 2.
The opposite of what the Knicks did. The Knicks just like I mean, they still were third seed in the East, but they didn't feel like, that dominant of a team. They were beating up bad teams, doing their thing, but it felt like they tapped another gear in the playoffs. Like, we're like, okay, regular season could be whatever, but in the playoffs, they're gonna be another gear because we have a way to win. So we're gonna tap another gear because we know precisely Thibodeau does great prepping and all that stuff. We have a prep list of the ways we're gonna win. We know that in the playoffs, especially. We have a prep list of how we're gonna win the playoffs, and it's a bunch of everything.
Yeah, like that makes me think. Like, I think we should transition now. What do you think? Go to Knicks Pacers because, again, with the Knicks Celtics series, it's like, I'm more prone to dissect the Celtics because they're the team that was the huge favorite. It's like, what went wrong with this team that was trying to become a dynasty? Like, I just think objectively, that's the bigger story. But then, the Knicks are a huge story too. So now it's like the Knicks, 25 years, hadn't been in the Eastern Conference Finals. They're back in the Eastern Conference Finals. Obviously, they're the local team. They're our favorite team. So it's like in the NBA, I think nationally, the Celtics are the bigger story, or were, with their downfall. But now as we go forward, the Knicks, not only a huge story locally and regionally, they're a massive story nationally and in the NBA. I mean, 25 years back in the Eastern Conference Finals, the Garden is rocking. The Knicks are hosting game one, have the home court advantage as they go up against Indiana now. So
Who would have known?
So what do you make of this series coming up? How you feeling about it? How do you think it's going to go? What are the keys for the Knicks?
The keys are you have a team. The Celtics have a kind of a nonsense, analytical approach. Well, the Pacers do too, but I think they're more of they could still get twos in transition. Like they want to score in transition. That is their identity, and they have that identity. So they will push the pace, and you've got to get back. I think the Knicks did a kind of bad job getting back. I think the Celtics, of course, we're gonna keep trying to dissect them a little bit, but they settled for threes and then they missed it. So, but the Pacers really just dominate you. They're gonna get out in transition. They're gonna lay the ball up, dunk it. The play's gonna go crazy in Indiana. So they're gonna get up and they're gonna get out and they're gonna get fat. I mean, we talk about Obi Toppin, all those players, all their role players. They have a very good role-playing player team. Like they have a rare built around role players, and Halliburton, of course, who is no role player, but he's their engine. He's their engine. Not like he's this Jalen Brunson of a scorer, get a bucket type guy. He could be, but he's an engine. He's the one that conducts the offense.
Yeah.
So, he could arguably be more of a threat than a player like Jason Tatum, who is kind of a put head down scorer, step back three, whatever it is, just a scorer. He could be more threat. It just depends on what you like or what you don't like. Depends on that, but he's a threat. So just really defending him hard and not letting them get into sets and just stuff like that. Just physically, you got to impose your will physically. I think that's one of the things the Knicks have to do. Is they revealed a identity, and they're not just gonna have to beat the Celtics using that. They could beat the Pacers using that identity, and if they do that, they're gonna have a pretty good shot of winning. And I think bench production, the Pacers go deep, they do, and I think the Celtics don't really go as deep as the Pacers do. The Pacers are a deep team. Now I don't have it up right now, but the last time they played, which is a very close game, I know it was game whatever that Cavs series, but they played. They have a lot of production. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 players. That's a lot of players in the playoffs, especially when you're thinking about shrinking your rotation. Knicks play only 7. So they're the team that's going to be more fresh. And if this series goes deep, I think I've trouble saying the Knicks will. I'm a little bit nervous if the series goes deep. I think the Knicks need to get it done fast and quick, because if the Knicks let the series go deep and they get tired out, that's where this Pacers can really pounce. Because they're going to be fresher
what's the
energy.
key to the Knicks winning it, say, in 5 games? I mean, I wouldn't bring a sweep into it, but, you say getting over it quickly. I mean, how do they win it in 5 games?
Just be physical. Shut down Tyrese Halliburton. I mean, we bring up this, graph. I have a graphic of Tyrese Halliburton. The last time they were healthy, he had 6 points. To Jalen Brunson's 43. So stuff like that. When you can do comparisons like that, where you have your superstar outplaying their superstar, and just absolutely outplaying them, and just being the more talented team, and also just having those matchups in attack where you're OG Anunoby and you're guarding Pascal Siakam. You're Mikal Bridges, you're guarding Tyrese Halliburton, and you make it a half-court game, and you really grind it out, and you win close games, and you win at the Garden. You got to take those first 2 games at the Garden. That's why I say, the Celtics had to win those games at Boston. Pacers the Knicks have to take these games in New York, because Pacers they have a very good fan base. Indiana's a very good fan base.
Yeah, they sure do.
They get crazy.
They always have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the Garden rocks, but whatever it's called in Indiana now, the Field House used to be Conseco Field House or Conseco. I don't know what it is now.
But again, we talked about last year. Knicks took 2 in New York. Indiana took 2. New York took 5. Indiana took 6. And
the home team won until Game 7.
Yeah, home team won until Game 7. So I think the Knicks winning first 2 games and then splitting away. Now I think the Knicks take Game 3, Game 4, whatever. But I think the Knicks are going to have to take 1 game in that Ruckus Arena.
I think they can. I think the Knicks are different this year in terms of winning on the road.
More talented.
I mean, they've won 5 games on the road in the playoffs so far. So, I mean, Indiana's a tough place to play.
Also, Detroit was really tough, too, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Detroit was rocking. And look, it's really tough to win in Boston, too.
Yeah.
So the Knicks have shown they can win on the road. So, if the Knicks if they split these first 2 games, if it's 1-1 after 2, I'm like, okay, of course you want to go up 2-0 and take care of home court. But if it's 1-1, I mean, I have confidence the Knicks would go win on the road, and they've shown it.
Yeah, I still want to be splitting 2-2. I mean, I maybe I'm overblowing it if it goes deep. It's bad, I think. But I think you're gonna need a Brunson carry game if you're gonna go really deep in this series. He's gonna have to have a big time performance.
I look at the series and just the Knicks in general. I don't think they're winning in 4 or 5. I don't think the Pacers are either. I just think for the Knicks, it's gonna be a grind. I just going back to the first round, the Pistons. I mean, you expected a sweep, right? I thought in 5.
No, I thought in 5. I think Knicks in 5.
We both said 5. Okay, so we thought it'd be a shorter series, and then it was a real grind. I mean, it could have went 7.
No, I said
but the Knicks grinded it out.
Oh, I said Knicks in 4. What do you mean? This series or the Pistons?
No, I was saying the first round. The first round, I thought 5. You thought 4. It wound up being 6. Could have easily been 7. But the Knicks grinded it out, and then they had these big comebacks against the Celtics, grinded out. I mean, one huge in Game 6. But I think for the Knicks, this whole playoffs is going to be a grind. I like them in this series in 7. I think this thing's going 7. 6-7. I'll say 7. I respect the Pacers. Like you said, they're a very deep team. They're a very well-coached team. I think this could be a classic Knicks-Pacers series. I mean, the games play very differently now than it was in the 90s when these teams were going head-to-head a lot. But I'm thinking it's going to be a Knicks-Pacers classic, deep, 7 games. I like the Knicks. The home court advantage. The Knicks have lost games at the Garden in the playoffs. They've won on the road. The Pacers could certainly go win a Game 7 on the road. Both of these teams could win on the road. I'll pick Knicks in 7. I'm just for the Knicks, I just think it's going to be a grind. And I think they're up to the task. I think they can grind it out, win this series. If they get to the finals, I think they can grind it out and win the finals. I do think, as I said, Oklahoma City is the best team left, but why can't the Knicks beat them? They beat the Celtics. So that's just the way I see it. Like, I don't see the Knicks winning a series easily, but I think they've proven what they could do and grind and step up when it matters most, both on the offensive and defensive side. They're well coached. Brunson is a star. Cat can have his big games. Bridges, what OG does. They got a good mix. That's how that's just, I calculate it all, and I'm just like, Knicks in 7. Great series, maybe a classic series. But you say Knicks in 5.
I'm gonna stick on Knicks in 5, but I do get what you're saying is that it's gonna be if it is a grind out series, I think Knicks take it, but I think home court matters here. I do think it does, but the Knicks are gonna have to really, those bench players for Miles McBride and Mitchell Robinson really have to show up in this series. They have to do like they did last series. Not cancel out, but kind of neutralize what the Pacers are going to bring you off the bench. I know that's one of my soft X factors is the bench. I think the bench for the Knicks, two bench players. I know it's crazy. Knicks only play 2 bench players, but those are going to be big. Those are 2 big players for the Knicks to cancel out or neutralize what the Pacers are going to bring you off the bench. Because they do a good enough job, that whole advantage the Pacers have really goes to nothing. And now it's just talent for talent.
Yeah, I think this thing lines up to be another fascinating series. I mean, like it's great. I mean, it's exciting. Again, just from a Knicks perspective, I mean, the Knicks are back, clearly back. They got over that big hurdle. And look, it's not, be satisfied, fine, got to the conference finals. Like, the Knicks have a very real chance to get to the NBA finals now. I mean, who would have thought that? And you don't want to look too far ahead, but they could win the championship. I mean, why not? Again, I keep repeating myself, but they beat the Celtics. They beat the defending champs. They beat the team that was trying to become a dynasty. That's now not going to become a dynasty and has big issues. But, I mean, the Knicks have arrived. I mean, here they are. And now they have home court advantage in the Eastern Conference Finals. They're playing a good Indiana team. It's an old rivalry. They played in the playoffs last year. Knicks lost in 7. So there's some revenge there. Like, this thing's going to be fascinating. And just as a sports fan, it's like this is another must-watch series. Like, even if you're a casual NBA fan, but you're a sports fan, I mean, this is a must-watch series. This thing's going to be really, really interesting. And there's going to be a lot to talk about with it, too. Like, I think every game is going to be a lot to dissect. Again, I like, it could be a 5-game series, but even if it's 5, like, it's just going to be a real grind of a series.
Yeah. 2 teams trying to assert their will or their identity on the game. That's what's going to be. Will the Knicks play their slow tempo style basketball, which isn't bad because they're winning that way, where they can get down the court, relax, and also not turn the ball over and just be calm and be veteran and be poised? Well, the Pacers, I mean, they have vets, but they run it up and down. So that's going to be 2 styles that are going to try to collide, and one team's going to have to prove their style over the other. And maybe another team has to play that other team's style. What do we know? That's the whole thing, is that the Knicks, the Celtics didn't really have a style, but the Pacers have a style of basketball they want to play. I mean, of course, 3-point shot, but running up and down the court, transition is the style. And the Knicks are going to have to play those slow style basketball. So you're going to have to really see which one.
So who exerts their will? Who exerts their style?
And I trust the Knicks with their talent. And Brunson is the floor general. And is just scoring at will. I think that, honestly, we talk about the personnel he has been guarded with in that first series. Asar Thompson, young defender the Pistons just play you tough. Not like the Indiana Pacers don't. They're going to play them tough. But, then you get Drew Holiday. There's nothing else to say about that. I know he's lost some of it, but he's still a tough defender. Derek White. You can also throw at Jaylen Brown. You have a lot of players you can throw at. I know we put a lot of hate on the Celtics right now. And obviously, they are. They are a team that we can dissect, but they have good to great defenders.
But at the same time, as much as we have criticized the Celtics, and the Celtics have been largely criticized, and deservedly so, I just said before, if the Knicks could beat the Celtics, they could beat anybody. Meaning the Celtics are the most talented team in the NBA. I mean, they when at full strength, the Celtics are the most talented team. They're defending champs. So, as much as they deserve a lot of criticism, the Knicks beat them in the playoffs, left no doubt, crushed them in Game 6. If the Knicks beat the Celtics, well, they could beat anybody ahead of them.
Yeah, and I think also we talk about talent, but I think talent defensively. I think people are thinking offensively, but I think defensively also. They have a bunch of guys who can defend really well, and that for Jalen Brunson is hard. But now you get to a series where it's Andrew Nembhard, it's Aaron Nesmith. Those are guys that, I might be, knock on wood, but those are guys that aren't really the greatest, stoppers of Jalen Brunson. They're great defenders, good defenders in all right, but there's a different type of defender you have to be to guard Jalen Brunson. That's why he's a superstar. That's that type of stuff. But I think Brunson can have his way. So that he's the big X factor, and I know he's always is, but in slowing down the pace, being that floor general, getting his assist, getting Knicks in the sets, getting buckets when they need to. When he feels the offense is really on a slow step, he can still get a bucket or two. So he's the real X factor. I know he always is, but this series, of course, because of the way those two teams play.
Yeah, I think if someone wanted to say that these teams are even when you assess everything, they're tied. I think the tiebreaker is Jalen Brunson.
Yeah,
because look, again, it's going to be a real grind of a series. I would not be surprised if the Pacers won it. I think the Knicks are going to win it. I think they're going to get it done. I think they're going to grind their way to the NBA Finals. I think ultimately they'll assert their style of play a bit better than the Pacers. And if you want to call it even, I think the tiebreaker is Jalen Brunson. I mean, you could say it's home court, but I go with Jalen Brunson is what breaks the tie for me.
Yeah,
because the Pacers could go on the road and win in Game 7.
Yeah,
and I'm not even saying it because of last year. Like you could kind of throw out last year. This year's different. The Knicks are healthy. The Knicks are better. But the Pacers could win Game 7 at the Garden. And if the Pacers had home court in the series, the Knicks could win Game 7 in Indiana.
Yeah.
Jalen Brunson, like, as a Knicks fan, Jalen Brunson, like, makes me feel good. Where I say, you know what? All things considered, that guy's on the Knicks.
Yeah, I think he can get it done in a way that, Halliburton's great. He's good. But the way he gets it done, man, is different than anybody on that basketball court.
Well, I think in the last series, it didn't work out this way. You could have said, all things considered, Tatum's on the Celtics. Now, didn't work out that way, but, maybe you said, oh, kind of.
I don't know if I said that. I don't know.
No, I'm not saying you said that. I'm saying, like, somebody could have said that, like, not that the teams were even. Nobody thought they were even. But, Tatum was the best player in that series. Where, in this series now, Brunson's the best player in the series.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from. I think the Celtics, as a whole, are more talented. The Knicks, I don't think they had the most talented player. I'll disagree on that. If that's even, I don't think they did.
So you think Brunson was the best player in the last series?
Brunson was the best player in the series. He had Tatum had 42, but Jalen Brunson had 39 and 10. So, and he really floor generalized the whole entire offense. I feel like when Tatum, he took a lot of step back threes, and I feel like he didn't get other people involved. I mean, that's still a ticky-tack up. He had 42 coming in the game, and he was their whole point of he was the whole reason they were in the game. But I think Brunson.
Tatum plays better defense than Brunson, though.
Yes. I think the clutch time.
And that game Tatum had in Game 4, I mean,
Yeah.
was that the best individual performance of the series? I mean, that performance, they lost, but I mean, that was some performance.
Yeah, but I did also feel going down clutch time with Tatum's step back threes and all that stuff. It was hitting. But is that, as we talk about it, is that really a high quality shot with the game on the line? I mean, it could be, but
yeah, is Brunson more clutch than Tatum?
sorry, I'm looking at the game. Alonzo just threw a freaking ball over somebody's head again, or not even that. It wasn't that bad as last night, but it was a toss. I don't know whose
I got to
fault
see
that
the
is.
replay. I see second and third, 2 outs for the Red Sox. Bottom of the fourth, Red Sox lead 3-1.
See where my stop was.
Somebody get hurt. I see coach is coming out. Yeah, it's a bad flip over Senga's head. He held on to it too long. Yeah, he went like this. Gotta have that stiff wrist on a flip. He held on it too long.
Yeah,
I
think the last 2 days for Alonzo defensively has been bad, but I think his whole entire season he has had a better season defensively. I think that throw was bad and this throw was bad, but whole season he's been a good defender. But yeah, I think going back to the point, I felt like in clutch time, Brunson's shot quality is
nobody's hurt. The pitching coach went out.
Yeah, I think the shot quality of Brunson, I felt like he's on the Knicks. I know it's like, oh, I'm a fan, okay, but I felt like Brunson's on the Knicks, and I felt really fine. I know Jason Tatum's on the other team, but he's great in his own right. The quality of shot that Jalen Brunson gets is higher than Jason Tatum. And I feel like in the clutch, Jason Tatum didn't play the best basketball. I mean, I know.
Well, the end of game 2,
yeah,
he didn't even get a shot off.
Yeah.
And then what was the end of the game? I'm drawing a blank at the end of game 1. Was it Tatum in the end of game 1?
No, Jaylen Brown just got absolutely ripped by McKellar.
Oh, it was Brown. Okay, but the end of game 2, that was terrible. I mean, Tatum came down and scored the possession before, and then the Celtics ran the same play.
It felt like you know what, that possession, it felt like the Knicks just wanted that. And they were like, we're going to get down. We know if you have Brunson, and we're at least going to get a foul. So.
I mean, the Celtics ran the same play the next possession. Like, the Knicks had to be like, that's a gift.
Excuse me, we'll just switch out Mitchell Robinson, and we'll force him into our double team of absolute wings, absolute dogs, and then we'll just, swarm you, and that's about it. That's all you can do. I mean, no player's really getting that shot off.
Well, yeah, I mean, what a great job by the Knicks. We talk about the Celtics, but and their downfall and their issues. But man, I mean, the Knicks, they got it done when they needed to. They're tough. They grind. Again, both sides of the ball, they step up when it matters most. That's what it's all about in all the sports. Like, can you step up when it matters most? You could be a team goes win 60 games in the NBA regular season, go win 100 games in a baseball regular season, but can you get it done when it matters most? And the style of play changes in the playoffs in all the sports.
More physical.
And the Celtics, they thought they were just going to take that approach that works in the regular season and win a bunch of games and then just do it in the playoffs. And it got exposed. They won a title last year, but they had the easiest road to a title. And like I said a couple times earlier, the best team they faced in the last 2 years in the playoffs is the Knicks, and they got beat.
Yeah, I hate to be the guy, but it really shows how soft or how flawed you are. And I think
the Celtics are soft. And the Knicks are tough. And that means something.
Wait, aren't or are?
The Celtics are soft.
Okay. Yeah, I do think they're soft, but it also comes to how tough the Knicks are. And they really
you got a tough team, you got a soft team.
And
the tough team
mentally
won out.
tough too. Mentally tough. It looked like Jaylen Brown checked out at the end of that third, so foul, I think.
And the Knicks were battle tested. Like, you know what? I mean, Jack, you made a great point earlier, like with the battle tested series the Knicks had in the first round. And then you go back to last year. I know, they had the big trade in the offseason, so it's not the same exact team, but, there were several guys that were on the team last year that were key players and are key players this year. But you go back to last year with the Sixers series, that was a grind, and the Pacers series was a grind. So the Knicks are more battle-tested. I think that was a factor. The Celtics were not tested at all last year. They weren't tested in the first round. They come up against the best opponent that they faced in the last 2 playoffs, and there you go.
Yeah, I did feel like the Knicks, you had more of a hold over what their identity was. I know I keep bringing up the word identity, but I think it matters. It did feel like they were winning some tough games in the regular season. I know it's regular season. You don't really get those opportunities a lot, but it did feel better about that. But I think at the end of the day, the Knicks really put it together. And I think they played a style of basketball that I didn't think they were going to be able to play. And it's just like we have Brunson, we have Mikal Bridges, and Mikal Bridges is going to get done when Brunson's going to sit down a little bit or play off ball, and Mikal's going to get a bucket. And that bucket may be from the mid-range, man. The Celtics don't know about that, but that's a part of basketball too. And you can get a high-quality shot from there. Not a lot of teams can guard that. Talk about DeMar DeRozan's career. I know he didn't have a great playoff career, but talk about his whole entire career was off of mid-range. Players can make their money off of mid-range. It's not just a three-point shot, too. It's not just that. Melo was one of the best mid-range shooters in the world.
Well, the analytics people are not a big fan of the mid-range game.
Yeah, but Melo, Kobe, talk about all these great mid-range shooters, man.
Which should be evidence enough that the mid-range game is important. Like the more versatile you are, the better. Like it's just
even Brunson. Like
it's just common sense. Mid-range is not the best shot. The open threes are the best shot. Like, come on, go to the basket. The best shot is the best shot's a dunk. The best shot's going to the basket. I get it. Like you have a wide open 3 versus a contested long range 2 or mid-range 2. Okay, I get it. But like, is it a good shot? Like you're trying to get good shots, and it makes no sense to take out the mid-range game.
Yeah.
Because then teams don't have to defend against it. It's one less thing that they have to be concerned with.
It looked like in that game, the Tatum Achilles game. I hate to keep saying that, but that's kind of the way I'm thinking about the game. But that was the game where I felt like the Celtics they felt like they had too much to guard. They were just done. They were off. They had too much to guard.
They had too much to guard. Where the Knicks were facing a team that just chucks threes.
Yeah.
Although you said when they actually went inside, or at least, they did go inside, and like there was that threat. The Celtics had success when they did that.
Yeah, they went inside, and they also kicked out, got a good looks from 3, better looks from 3, in my opinion. Less rushed.
But isn't that so basic? Instead of playing 5 out, swinging the ball around the perimeter, like you go in and out. Like it's common sense.
And you know what? I was a little mad about the Knicks not playing a lot of 5 out in the regular season in the playoffs because they had build a team around 5 out. But did they actually build the team around 5 out, or did they just build a team for just the success? Like we're gonna run whatever we're not gonna be a 5 out team. We're just gonna be just a great team, and we don't have to be as 5. We can play 5. I think 5 outs should be a thing that people run sometimes.
Yeah, right. Sometimes. It's a different look. It's not you could never run it, but if you run it all the time, it's going to be easy to defend.
Yeah, the Knicks ran some plays out of 5 out, which looked amazing because the Knicks have Knicks have Brunson, Knicks have Mikal. They're all great 3-point shooters. Good degree 3-point shooters. When you run 5 out, good stuff's going to happen. They ran some 5 out. They also ran some plays out of it, and it looked like amazing. It looked amazing basketball, but that's only because you can only run 5 out when you establish yourself inside or wherever it is. Inside, kick out threes, getting inside the paint. When you establish yourself, now you can do more stuff.
Yeah, and that doesn't take a basketball expert. Like,
no,
there's things where you go into the territory of people that really know the game, like yourself. You know the game inside and out. You have a great basketball mind. You know the sport at a very high level, really high level. So there's you get into that territory where it's like, okay, it's the people that really know the game, that will break it down and really understand it. But then there's parts of the game where it doesn't take an expert. It doesn't take somebody who knows at a really high level. It's pretty much common sense.
You know what the Knicks do out of halftime now? They do layup lines. That's what you want to practice, doing layup lines. I know people shoot threes now and before the game, but high school basketball, you're usually doing dunk lines, layup lines, whatever they do. They could jump out of the building, so they do kind of dunks and layups. But that stuff, they come out of the game, and that is what you want to establish. That's what basketball
It's
is.
also a mindset, too.
Yeah, getting inside, tough. I think
And the
it's
Knicks
tough.
mindset is just so superior to the Celtics mindset.
Well, I think mindset.
I almost kicked myself, Jack. I'm like, I mean, it's look, it is what it is. Like we've seen the series play out now, but I'm like, should we have seen this? Particularly, I mean, I'm like, I'm just going to talk about myself, because, I know my thoughts and my, view of, the prior series and the Knicks, the Celtics, but like it's like should we have seen this coming? Like did the Celtics just get too much credit and it's like, oh, their talent's gonna take over? I don't know. Like I kind of feel like this should have been something that people saw coming, but again, it's like it's hindsight's 2020. So I don't know.
But again, I do think that 15 for 60 is like ridiculous. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. I think.
But I just go again, like I said earlier. I go back to the way I looked at the Celtics last year, and I think a lot of people did. It was like, and I would like bash them. Like they play nobody. I don't think they're that good. I think if they actually play a good team, they'll lose. I don't like their style of play, but they never played that team that could challenge them. And then this year, they faced a team that could challenge them. They faced the best team they've played in the last two playoffs, and they lost. So it's like. I just kind of say, like, why didn't I see it coming? But knowing the NBA and how talent the vast majority of the time takes over the NBA, it just seemed like, okay, like the Celtics, I don't think there's some all-time great team. And I didn't even think they were going to win the championship this year. Like, I thought they'd lose eventually. I thought it'd probably be the NBA Finals. I thought it would be the NBA Finals. Like, I thought it would be Celtics Thunder with the Thunder winning. Like, because I really was not a big believer in the Celtics, but I didn't think they'd lose in the second round to the Knicks. But now that we saw it play out, it's like maybe we should have saw this coming. Like maybe it was just people just fell into the way the NBA is. Oh, the talent takes over, which is understandable.
But the Knicks have at least equal to not equal, but like it's the talent difference is not that. It's still enough for you to say Celtics are going to win. But at the end of the day,
well, again, the Celtics were minus 900 coming into the series. I mean, that's a massive thing.
Like this talent, the Knicks made up with that talent of going up and being tough and effort and that made up for the gap. It was enough gap to kind of make up with the effort, talent. I mean, effort.
But historically in the NBA, you don't make up that talent gap. Superstars take over. It just doesn't happen. Like this was a massive upset. It's an historic upset. But again, it's hindsight, but there should have been signs of it. But again, like, you know what though, Jack? Like, we both did say 6 games. Like, we didn't say Knicks are going to get embarrassed. They're going to get swept. They're going to lose in 5.
About the bad shooting games. We said about the bad shooting games. Celtics going to have about 2 of them. But I do think the Celtics shot well when you get out of those 2 games. The Knicks just played better. I think when you gave up those games, you kind of gave momentum. I think that's why I kind of, when you bring up that quote about Joe Mazzulla, you gave a team momentum. You gave the team a reason to believe. Well, if you're that team when you're minus 900, you can't give the other team to believe a reason to believe. So the Celtics did that by going down 0-2. I mean, going down 0-2. And even though they shot well in game 3, they won. But in game 4, they shot well, and the Knicks kept up with them because they had a game to be like, okay, let's take a step back. We lost, but now we can go back to the drawing board, and we can go back down in the same arena and try to come back that because they didn't come out with a different strategy. So Knicks just played better. I think that's the thing about the analytics and your thing is that they didn't come up with a different strategy. All Knicks need to do is play better. So that's the thing. Like, there's no different adjustment. The Knicks just had to play better. And they did. They
played better, and then they rose to the occasion when it mattered most. Like, the Knicks character was revealed, and the Celtics character was revealed. That strikeout in the game? Was it a called strike 3?
Yeah, it was called.
That's close. That's
That was one of
oof,
them.
I don't know. That was close.
I don't know, man. But yeah, I do feel
This
like
game's far from over, by the way. You're getting into I almost said Celtics. You got a Boston team here, though. The Red Sox bullpen's been shaky, and it's been used a lot. So this game's far from over.
yeah. I do think that we could have saw it, but it's defending champions. You have to give them some credit.
Yeah.
So it's like, do we really hate on that? Because it's not like they were like, if the Thunder lost and people had them picking it, you're like.
But you know what, though? We did say it, though. Like, we said, all right, the Knicks will be competitive in the series. It'll go 6.
Bad shooting nights.
And we said, like, the Celtics are really good, but they're not an all-time great team. You know, you're not going up against Jordan's Bulls. We did say that. So I think we actually pretty fairly assessed it. Again, it was just in the NBA, the vast majority of the time, when there's a significant talent disparity, the team with the most talent or more talent is going to win.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like maybe the talent disparity wasn't or isn't as great as a lot of people thought.
Man, it's just the Thibodeau run teams that they play with a bunch of effort, and maybe that's a new style that, we play with enough effort. We still have talent. Of course, you be in those games with talent, but we play and we get players like Josh Hart and Mitchell Robinson where we can get after. Well, talk about them. They get after every single loose ball. I know Mitchell Robinson has some injuries, so there's not a lot of stuff he can do about like what Josh Hart can do. But he gets on a lot of those loose balls and those rebounds. They make a difference with that effort. So
I said before a few times, like this was an historic series, and I think this series is a fascinating one. Like, look, I mean, people are dissecting it in and out, the last few days and during the course of the series. But this is a series where I think you come back to and like dissect even more, like what happened here. Like it's historic in terms of how it unfolded and how the team that everybody thought had significantly more talent, defending champs, should win it. Even if it goes 6, even if the Knicks are competitive in the series, like the Celtics should win it. Like, this would be a massive upset. But I just like it's just like it's really historic. Like it doesn't happen in the NBA. But here it is, it did, and it's like
upsets don't happen because they're usually professional players. They don't make dumb mistakes that higher seeds, in other college basketball, all that stuff. They do. They make dumb mistakes. They're college kids. So it's hard to make an upset in professional sports. It's really hard.
Well, particularly in basketball, like the superior talent takes over, the superstars take over.
Especially a 7-game series. And, well, I mean, you would think the coach would make adjustments, but whatever. I mean, you have the talent, so at least, like, maybe Tatum has his Garden game, which he did, but, then Brown has a Garden game. Who knows?
Yeah.
Like,
but you know what, though? I think it comes down to there's something really wrong with the way the Celtics approach the game, and there's something really right with the way the Knicks approach the game. And you saw that unfold.
Yeah, and you saw that.
And then maybe it's a lesson to the rest of the NBA to play the way the Knicks do, or similar to what I know, teams are different, different players, you should play according to the roster you have. But you look at what the Knicks did, and have done. And then you look at the way the Celtics approach it, and then it should be, it should be something for the rest of the league to really take a look at.
Well, the Knicks do match up well with the Celtics in the way that they have a bunch of shooters, but they don't play that way. I mean, they do that. Again, I think that also when you want to get inside, you can also get some good kickouts and that type of stuff. That's where you want the shooters. But that's why the Knicks are different because they also have the inside game because they can use those. They use stars better. They use their players better. That's all it comes down to. And it comes to the coaching staff of using the players better. They know how to get to their spots. They know what spot they're good at. And also, they have that fallback option of OG Anunoby's a pretty reliable three-point shooter. Mikal Bridges is a pretty historic, reliable three-point shooter. Jalen Brunson can come up and.
I mean, the Knicks shot 45 threes in Game 6. So the Knicks shoot threes. I mean, they shot 91 overall shots. So they shot 46 twos and 45 threes. So they were shooting a lot of threes, but it's the shots they take. It's just the Celtics, to me, like this whole narrative, they just miss wide open shots. Like, were those people watching the same game? Like, I know they did miss some wide open shots, but the Celtics took a lot of bad shots. Like, it's the quality of shots you take. I mean, I'd rather the Knicks not take 45 threes. But the Knicks didn't win Game 6 because they took a bunch of threes. They won Game 6 because they played really well in every facet of the game.
Well, I think rhythm. I think if you come out and you stop bad shots, then you get into the second quarter, third quarter, and you get open looks, you're bricking them. That's just what's happening. No matter how good of a shooter you are, you've got to get in a rhythm. Somewhat of a rhythm.
But analytics doesn't account for rhythm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just different factors. It's not just data, and inputting it
and when we break it down,
using an algorithm, and then, we do this based off what the algorithm spits out.
I think it's good when we break it down, too. I think it kind of underlines what more basketball there is and what more sports there is. And that's why they're analysts. That's why there's other people that talk about sports like us, because there's more to sports than just a spreadsheet.
Yeah, and that played out in the Knicks Celtics series. And it's great to see, too. Like, glad the Knicks won. As a Knicks fan, it's great. But
is this spreadsheet?
What's that?
Is it a spreadsheet? Is it a spreadsheet that they use for analytics?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, it was great to watch unfold. Just the Knicks winning, but then just watching the way the Knicks do things defeat the way the Celtics do things. Like, it was a beautiful thing, And I think it's good for the sport too. I think it's great for the NBA. Like, I think this series was a great thing for the NBA.
Maybe people.
I think the NBA needs to build upon that. Like, I don't know exactly how you build upon that, but like,
you can't script it. You can't script it.
But just like the way the teams play, like, learn something from this.
But guess what? That Celtics team is going to get broken up because they have to, because of the contracts and all the stuff and all the negotiations and all the money. That team cannot stay together. So maybe we'll be in luck, or maybe it's just a team thing.
Yeah.
But I think the Knicks play very well styled basketball that is suited for the playoffs. And I think that the Celtics have a style of basketball that's suited for the regular season and maybe the playoffs. We'll see, but maybe the playoffs. And that's the thing you bring up with Moneyball. Maybe it's for the playoffs. We'll see. We'll give it our best shot, but we'll just see. And we'll go out there and guess. And
it'll be fascinating to see what the Celtics do go for. Like I said, there's going to be roster changes. We'll see if there's a philosophy change. I don't hear anything about a coaching change.
I don't hear anything about a philosophy change either. I mean,
I would think they'll stick to what they do.
Yeah,
because I think they're so in deep with it. They just believe it. They believe in their process. Like, they're very ideological. They really believe in it, and they'll say, "Oh, well, I don't know. Like, what is their excuse? Like, you can't use the injury excuse.
That's the excuse. 3 is a bigger number than 2, but I think 3 is a riskier shot than 2.
It's clear. That's clear.
Yeah. But I don't think there's like always, I feel like they're like, this whole thing is like 3 is better than 2 and like all this stuff. Everybody says that math game, as I said earlier in the season, but I think it's not always like it's a math game.
A home run is better than a single, but it's a lot harder to hit a home run.
Yeah, but I think a 3 is better than 2, but you could do both. And I think the Knicks
Yeah,
added that up.
3 obviously counts for more than a 2. It's just basic math. But I'm making the comparison that, well, a home run is better than a single because a home run, you're guaranteed to score a run. Where a single, I mean, you could hit an RBI single, but if there's nobody on base, nobody scores. But it's harder to hit a home run. So if you're always swinging for the fences, I don't think that's a good approach in baseball.
No,
if you're
I don't
shooting threes in basketball, I don't think it's a good approach.
Yeah, I think
I just think it's common sense.
And the Knicks add that up. Knicks added.
But I think what you talked about with rhythm, like there's the rhythm of the game, there's the flow of the game. Like
there's always been a rhythm in the game, especially as you get into modern NBA. There's always been more of a rhythm of we're gonna try to dance through this game, but if the dancing is not based on threes and you're not shooting threes well, then you're kind of in a loss. And where's your pivot? The Celtics Celtics have the talent to just pivot perfectly off of it, though. By the way, they have the talent and they have the personnel too. They could pivot and they could play right to do basketball, to use basketball. They can get in the paint. By the way, let's not forget about that. They could have easily pivoted, but they didn't.
Because they're so dedicated to their ideology, to their way. They're true believers in it.
You're bailing the Knicks out, and I don't want to. That's not me saying the Knicks are not giving the Knicks credit, but you bail them out when you shoot those threes.
They definitely did, but you're right.
Yeah.
The Knicks deserve a lot of credit.
Possession for possession.
It's clearly both. It's clearly the way the Knicks played, how well the Knicks played, and then it's clearly the way the Celtics played. And it's the toughness. It's the grit. It's being clutch. It's stepping up in the biggest moments. Both sides of the ball. There's different factors, but ultimately the Knicks got it done. The Celtics didn't, and it lines up for a very fascinating Eastern Conference Finals with the Knicks and the Pacers.
So, we want to end it?
Yeah, we went for an hour and a half.
Yeah. So that's going to do it for this episode of Jack and Being Frank. We will talk more about the NBA, of course, as it goes on. And we will see what the next show will be, but we will be talking more about the Knicks and more about the NBA as the series gets on. And we'll also give up some updates about baseball and how it's going. But more focus on basketball and also Western Conference. Just want to announce it of Minnesota versus OKC. Going to be a matchup. I do think some people, it's mixed opinions. I think the matchup is going to be great. I think it's going to be great. I think it's great basketball.
I'll go Thunder in 6. How about you?
I love Minnesota.
Yeah?
I'm going to go Minnesota in 6.
Well, that'll be fascinating if it's New York and Minnesota after the trade.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that as the series goes on. We'll still have more time as we give our opinion there. We'll give more time, kind of, in being more in depth about it, kind of giving our sides on it. So as the series goes on, we'll have some time. So that's gonna do it. Peace. Have a nice day, and let's go Knicks.